So what we've been discussing so far is that in relation to your own particular job, your particular function that you have in your organisation, is I've got you to identify the purpose of that job. So why it is that you go to work, what are you trying to achieve from a higher level, from a larger standpoint? What am I actually trying to achieve with my team? What are we trying to overcome? And we've had quite a few good examples of what that higher purpose is for your particular role. So it's very important that we keep that at a fairly high level. I then asked you to break down that purpose into our key result areas, or KRAs, and I've asked you to do that. And I think in most cases there seem to be probably 3, maybe 4 areas of responsibility under your purpose. So you're all sitting there at the moment with a purpose and 3 or 4 key result areas. So as I said, now we're breaking it down into different functions, if you like, because the next step, what I want you to try, and what we're trying to go here, is I want you to start with 1 KRA. So take 1 KRA, yeah. Now we're going to break that down. So we're going to break this 1 KRA down into what we call KPIs, which are performance indicators. So we're breaking our KRA, each one of our KRAs. And remember, we've got 3 or 4. I just want you to pick one of the KRAs, and I want you to break that down into, I would say, probably 3 KPIs. Now, if you look at that acronym, KPIs, it stands for Key Performance Indicator. Now, what we're talking about is something, this is about setting a goal. This is about setting a measurable, achievable, realistic, time-based goal. And it needs to be quite specific. In other words, if you're responsible for, let me pick Richard. I think one of your KRAs was around training the new recruits. Now we've got to have a measure now. How do we know whether Richard's doing a good job? This is the question, or for any of you. How do we know that you've been successful? How do you know you've been successful? Let's have some measures around how you're tracking. So now I can keep an eye on how well I'm going. The organisation can see how well I'm going. I know whether I've been successful. In other words, I've achieved the goal on time. And in fact, I want you to start thinking about what those goals are. And those goals, and I just mentioned them, those KPIs, should be measurable such that, you don't write them like this, but they should be measurable such that they meet this acronym. And this is the SMART acronym for goals. In other words, every goal or every KPI you set, yeah, it should meet this criteria. And one is it should be specific. So don't make the KPI too general or too broad. It has to be quite specific. We'll have a few examples. 2, or secondly, it also needs to be measurable. So can I measure this goal that I'm setting myself? You'll then have to ask yourself, how am I going to measure it? It might be measured empirically, it might be measured with a number, but it also might be measured with feedback, or it might be measured. Someone talked about, I think it was, I can't remember, someone was talking about monitoring community complaints. So one of the measures for you might be to have community complaints, you know, below 100 a month or something. I don't know, whatever the, if it's 120 now, you might go, okay, my target is to get it reduced to 100. So it needs to be measurable. It also needs to be achievable. In other words, don't make it impossible for yourself. It needs to be a challenge, but it also needs to be achievable. So don't set the target such that you'll never meet it. Because if you set a target that you can't meet, you'll end up giving up. So it needs to be an achievable target. Given you know what the situation is now, what's a, 12 months time, what do I want it to look like? I might want it to be 10% better. Okay, I can do that. I can get things. Can I make it 90% better? Probably not. So measurable, achievable. It also needs to be relevant to your purpose. So this comes back to the purpose at the top and say, is it relevant what I'm measuring here? Is this the thing that I should be measuring? And it needs to be time-based. So when you're setting yourself a KPI, don't write it like this. Just have that in the background, but just remember, when I'm doing this KPI for myself, ask yourself in your mind, is it a goal that is specific enough? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? And has it got a time frame to it? So your job now, should you choose to accept it, is to pick one of those KRAs. Pick the easy one. Pick the one you feel most comfortable with. And I want you to write three KPIs. That particular KRA. Now, you're sitting there with your purpose and also with your three KRAs. Let's go through it again. We're staying at the highest level at our purpose. We're breaking that down into areas of responsibility, 3 or 4 of them. I want you to pick one of those areas, just one of the 3 or 4. And now, ask yourself, what are my goals? And look, when I say time-based, more than likely, it's going to be an annual target. It might be a monthly target, but at your level, it's probably an annual target. And say, what is this target? What is this goal that I'm going to measure myself against? Because I want to know from a personal level whether I'm doing a job, let alone your boss. I want to know that I'm doing a job, and it focuses, when we've got this also, it focuses our mind and makes decisions a lot easier. Yeah. So, have we got any questions about that before I leave you to hop into that exercise? So, once again, in the Cook Islands, I want you to talk to each other when I give you your starting time. Talk to each other. Justin, you probably just do this on your own for the moment, and then I'll join you up with them. Yep. And in Samoa, talk to each other, and if I could get you to come up with 3 KPIs for 1 KRA. Any questions before I let you go? Also, look, you can. I'll be here, so if you have any questions, put your microphone on and yell out. Even if I'm not in shot, I'll be in the room. Okay, great, well done.